Good evening and welcome to the fourth session of our exploration of mind sciences. And tonight we're actually going to be looking at controlling the genie within. And what that's about is the actual power of your mind and your ability to control it. Because as we know, there's a lot of depression. We talked about that in one of our earlier sessions. And a lot of it, when we call it medical depression, when you actually look at it, it's about them not utilising their brain, or what we call self-sabotaging. So tonight we're going to actually be talking about how do we avoid that. In fact, how do we get rid of those inhibitors or barriers that are actually stopping us performing or succeeding. Now you remember from session 2, we talked about goal setting. Who's been keeping a goal list since? Everyone created one on the night? Okay. Now remember, when you have specific and measurable goals and you are following the process we gave you, you're actually utilising the whole of your brain. And remember, if you're not, and we talked about toward motivation, if you're not doing that, your subconscious cannot work as the 24-hour-a-day best employee you have. So if you don't put this stuff into practice, then obviously the results are limited. And what tonight is about is actually showing you some of the theories we talked about and actually putting a bit of practice in behind it, and particularly focused around some of your Kung Fu training, seeing we're in the Kung Fu school. So it's awesome to be here, and it's going to be another exciting night. But tonight you're going to actually see a bit of what you can do, how you can take control of your destiny and your life. Remember, you can become, can be, can have, can do, and can help serve others, provided you know what you want in life. And if you don't know what you want in life, that subconscious mind can't help you achieve it and track that to you. Now, stress, strangely enough, is good, because we actually need a level of stress to get us motivated and working. For example, if you've got a university assignment that you forgot about, and tonight you realise that it's actually due tomorrow, what happens? You get very motivated, don't you? You get home typing up that assignment. That level of stress actually is healthy for the body. That's why it's there. But the problem is, if we have significant stress for long durations, that actually starts having bad impacts on the body. And as a consequence, disease, health, etc. Becomes the result of that long continued level of stress. So who controls that issue around stress? Who's in control? You. So why the hell are you doing it? So tonight we're actually going to learn about how to stop it and what you can do to avoid it. See, my wife, when she first met me, she said, you know, Todd, are you one of these people that holds everything up and explodes? I said, what are you talking about? And she said, well, you work 7 days a week, you sleep 3 hours a day, you're involved in running big organisations, you're on company boards, you're running around doing all these different things. And the answer was, when you know how the brain works and you know how to deal with those things in your life, you can achieve amazing things. But when you don't and start putting in the negative self-talk, that's when you start jeopardising your thinking, which ultimately has an impact on your body. And we've already talked about medical models, haven't we? Impacts on the brain when there's damaged limbs, etc., and pain. But tonight, we're about trying to take control of your life. Because at the end of the day, did you know stress is simply you feeling that you're out of control? It's either a real or even a perceived feeling that you're out of control. And when you don't feel like you've got any options, that's when your stress level goes way up. It's about, tonight, taking control and actually getting the instruction book and manual on how to use your brain. Who's excited? Awesome, awesome. Okay, let's actually start looking at visualisation as the first exercise. Remember, medical research shows that when you visualise something strong enough and with emotion, you create the same neural network in the brain as a real life experience. So if I wanted to improve my Kung Fu form, when I actually visualise it and go through the visualisation, I can actually what we call perfect practice. It's like the golf swing. If I'm imagining myself doing the perfect swing, that may be better than actually me trying to swing. Does that make sense? I can perfect my technique by the swinging, by visualising. But there's two things you need to know about visualisation that makes it work or makes it fail. Who uses visualisation, by the way, in here? Okay, great. Many of us. So the couple of things you need to know about visualization is if we don't connect emotion to it, the brain doesn't get motivated. So hence, it doesn't take it as something that you want and desire, and it doesn't have the same level of impact. The other thing is something called associated and disassociated. You know when you watch a movie, when you first turn on the movie, the TV, and you're what we call disassociated. You're not actually in the TV, you know it's a TV and you're just watching it as an observer. It doesn't really have an impact on you. But you know when you get into it and you think you're watching it through your own eyes and you're involved, you are a part of the movie. Everyone's experienced that, haven't they? That's what's actually happening. That's associated and disassociated. So Aaron, could I actually ask you to come up, please? He looked like he was minding his own business, so I like to pick on those types of people. Excellent. Now what I'm going to actually ask Aaron to do, and none of this is set up tonight, so I'm pulling people out of the crowd. But if you look at Xing Yi, we really feel it, don't we? That Kung Fu style is all about feeling. Now, if he was to visualize doing Xing Yi, and he actually saw himself doing it, that's what we call disassociated. He hasn't got his emotion in that. Does that make sense? Because he's watching someone else doing it. But if he was actually imagining doing it with his eyes closed, and actually imagining he's watching his arms as if it was through his real eyes, he would actually be associated. Does that make sense? And if he is associated and actually puts emotion into it, so he's really feeling and experiencing it, he should actually start feeling that around his body. So what I'm going to actually ask you to do, closing your eyes, I want you to imagine, just with your hands down straight, I want you to actually imagine getting right into the Xing Yi and starting a part of some of the movements. So with your eyes closed, and I want you to imagine that as strong as you can, watching through your own eyes so you can actually see your limbs. Now, when someone starts doing this, they should actually start feeling some aspect of the body. So if you're watching him do it, you will actually see nerve pulses, tendons, everything moving. So that actually explains that something's happening in here because he's wiring his brain, but he's actually starting to have an impact on his body. You watching that? Now, how's that feeling for you, Aaron? Do you feel that?
I want to move.
Yeah, he automatically, the body wants to move because the intent is there. See, for Roger Smart talks about intent all the time. See, we are setting up the intent. We're actually creating the neural networks in the brain. The body wants to connect and move. And that's why when you're asleep and you're dreaming, sometimes your arm comes out because you're running or you're falling or something. What happens? Your limbs come to life. Hopefully your wife's not sitting there or your partner, because then it starts getting a bit dangerous. But your body then connects to the mind and then actually starts moving with it. Now what I want you to do, just to imagine doing the same thing but just watching yourself. So now you're disassociated. So just imagine you go to the eyes and you're watching someone else do it. And tell me, do you actually feel anything in your body now?
No, it's completely different. No.
See the power of it. The power of it is you have to be associated. If you're in the body experience and you're actually feeling it as if you were doing it, so you're watching through your own eyes, you are connecting the brain neural network. If you're just disconnected and imagine you're watching someone else, you're not emotionally connected. There's no emotion. Thanks very much. I appreciate that. Thank you. Awesome. As a master hypnotist, it's very brave to stand up in front of me, isn't it? So that's good to have so willing volunteers. So you can actually see that you can train harder, when I say harder when you're laying in bed, by visualising your forms and getting involved, because the brain is still sending the messages to the body. So when I work with professional sports athletes who are injured, so they can't actually train anymore, so they can't physically train. So they say to me, I'm off, I can't train anymore. And what do you think I say to them? You can actually train all right. In fact, you're likely to train with more perfect technique than when you normally are on the court or on the grounds. If they visualise and they're going through the forms and doing whatever their sport is, they're actually creating the same neural network as if it's a real life experience. But it has to be associated, and what's the other thing? It has to be felt. Yes, there has to be an emotion tied into that. Now,